Alrighty, what's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys. So we mentioned in yesterday's video that it was likely too early to be shorting with how things were closing. All right, so we got some daily closes over here. Just pretty much across the board, but especially over here on QQ that. It's just we probably weren't going to be selling just yet. So, we had PPI data come in this morning. That was a beat, just like we had CPI come in as a beat. This was also better than expected. We were going to be looking for the sign. Do we get a beat off of PPI and then the market does not end up going higher off it? That would be a sign of buyer's exhaustion. That is not what we got today. As we could see, SPY did close out with the bullish engulfing candlestick. I'm just going to point to SPY, IWM, and DIA. All right, I'm not going to say QQ closed out all that nice, but all of the others, they did close out in a very bullish manner, and we are likely going to be continuing. Top of that, we have a lot of setups that look like stocks are getting ready for a some decent moves, some decent impulsive moves around the corner. And the only way that happens is if the market continues climbing / not fall off a cliff. If it decides to start taking a dive here, we're just going to have a bunch of false breakouts. We're going to have a bunch of setup failing. And, as of right now, that's just not happening. We still are seeing some fall through on setups. And, that is not usually what we see, right, when, things are about to fall. So that's my opinion for the time being. I don't think we're going to be taking out this low over here tomorrow. I don't think we're going to be moving lower tomorrow to close out the week. I think it's likely that we're going to close out the week strong. I'm not saying we go straight up to all-time highs here, but I am definitely going to point out, things are not ready to take a short yet. They're not ready to pull back. Everyone is trying to short the market. Maybe not everyone, but there's definitely FOMO on both sides right now, and that's kind of recipe for this like slow, grindy market. And that's exactly what we've had the last few days, especially going on, yesterday and then today. As we see, we saw this one push up earlier. We pulled back, and we just spent the whole day consolidating really after that morning push. If you come over here to the hourly time frame, does that look like something that's about to sell to you? All right, come over to the 4-hour chart. Does that look like something that's about to sell to you? It can. All right, we have the start of a bearish divergence going on here. Sometimes these lead to our pullbacks, and I'll just point out an example of that over here. You had a little thing going on over here when price decided to make a higher high over there. And then you see the oscillator made the lower high right there. And then, it led to you trading flat. And then eventually you did end up pulling back. So that could be the case. I just don't think we are going to start pulling back just yet. Now, what I am going to point to, though, is I think we can head a little bit higher tomorrow, and then maybe we start trading flat or pulling back, because VIX at this point in time, guys, we've been talking about it. We're going to be watching this. We got underneath the 200 daily moving average not too long ago. We mentioned, if it falls underneath it usually spends at least a couple trading sessions underneath. And that is exactly what we've had. You got that bounce today going on, and then boom, you got slammed down. You have a bearish engulfing candlestick on the daily chart. It looks like we're going to be making a new low over there on the daily time frame. It also looks that way here on the 4-hour chart. As we could see, if you do take out this low there, you're going to be making a higher low over here on the RSI, but you can. It doesn't mean you're going to, but it's a possibility here. So I'm going to be watching for it tomorrow, which tells me, I think the indices can kind of get one more little pop here. Maybe we start a little bit of a pullback, or at least something, trade flat maybe on the indices, so VIX can end up getting a decent little spike to end up bringing this 4-hour RSI all the way up into overbought territory. So I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I don't think it's ready for the market to move down. I think we are going to head higher tomorrow, and with how things are looking, I think we get another pop. If we close out the week strong, then if we get a dip, like a sharp, retracement next week, we're going to expect buyers on that, and then we're going to expect a lower wick to form on the weekly candle. That's what I'm personally going to be looking for, because I want VIX to spike. It looks like it's it's getting to that time where normally we will see that spike when it puts in. Let's spend some time over here, okay? For anybody new to the channel, first of all, welcome aboard. Welcome to the channel over here. we watch VIX on this channel. It's a part of our technical analysis. People think you can't do technical analysis on the VIX. I, use this. This is one of my main tools when reading the markets. And, I'm just going to tell you for a fact, when the 4-hour RSI gets into oversold territory, it either will put in these divergences and then get a bounce, or it just comes down here and gets its bounces, okay? As we see over here, it didn't bounce back right away. It did, and now it's coming down to make a new low. And that's going to put in your divergence. And that is, a scenario over here. It can get a little pop, dead cat bounce, and boom, it slowly comes down to a new low. And it just puts in another divergence. Okay, so we can get a scenario like that. And this is honestly where I'm leaning. If we get this little spike beginning of next week, I'm thinking it's going to be bought up, and then we see VIX slowly come back down. And then we maybe get almost all the way up to all-time highs on SPY and QQ, and then we see VIX really spike there, and it pulls back pretty drastically, scares some people. That's my base case with how things are looking right now. But you can go back, and every time it really does put in these divergences, it is like not too far along that you end up getting a little VIX bounce. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but we are like, that's 20-25%. That's like VIX going from $18 right now all the way up to, we're talking like 22. That would be something right there, and it would still be in the realm of possibilities where this would just be a dead cat bounce. Okay, so it's still in the realm of dead cat bounces there. If you got all that, and that would reset that 4-hour RSI, and then you stall out right here at the 21 EMA like you did over here, a little bit over here, and then maybe you come back down. And my ideal scenario is we come down tomorrow, maybe get this spike up here, that gets sold. Something like that. How we looking? All right. But, that's what I'm looking at. I think VIX is probably going to, make that lower low tomorrow. That would be correlated with this over here, S&P 500, SPY, making a higher high over here. And then maybe we get like a spinning top candlestick. I'm not really expecting too much, guys. It's going to be OPEX Friday. I'm just going to highlight some trade ideas at the end of the video that you can pay attention to. I think these are looking hot. And as long as the market doesn't, drastically pull back tomorrow, I think these some of these have a shot at getting some nice moves on our OPEX Friday. But as far as the indices go, guys, you have the 4-hour bearish divergence starting to build out there. And that aligns with what I was just pointing out over there on VIX. If you come a little bit higher, maybe go something like that. Maybe this thing goes a little like that. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's within what we're talking about here. We can maybe come up here to, I don't think we're going to get up to 597. Honestly, I think it would be like 594, 595. But yeah, I'm going to look for a smaller time frame reversal setup at the time, and that's just going to come from the 15-minute RSI over here. We're going to watch for the bearish divergences, and then over, we're going to watch the 15-minute and the 5-minute time frames. We're going to watch for some form of bearish structure to form on the pop tomorrow if we get it. And yeah, if we start breaking down from that structure, we can start a larger pullback going into maybe the weekend. And we get a little wick on the an upper wick there on the weekly candles. And then we start the next week into a sell. And then, things would be looking good. Okay. So that's that. On the upside over here on SPY, we're watching 590.49 above there. We could pull out this little level right over there, 591.86 above there. What are we talking? We're talking 594.64 and then 597.34. I don't think we're coming all the way up here tomorrow, but we'll see. All right. Daily RSI is not yet overbought. So that is something to keep in mind. And it is also something that, we could start at, a ripper here where this thing does something like it did over here. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Well, VIX gets its bounce. Maybe this thing trades relatively flat, like something like that. Well, VIX gets, just resets there, and then boom, you end up getting another continuation move over here. And this would be, your move right underneath all-time highs. And then maybe we get a deeper pullback. That's what I was just talking about. We would get a deeper pullback before making that move. But, this is also possible. I remember seeing this. Nobody believed it. I didn't believe it. I remember taking a lot of profits, right over here. And it just kept going. All right. You just kept gapping into the heavens over here, and you just kept grinding higher. And that's very possible, with what we have right now. That's how these things happen. All right. Like that's how these things happen. That's when, everyone just keeps thinking, oh, it's going to pull back at some point. So it's a combination of you're continuously profit taking. People are putting on new shorts and then covering continuously. but more so the continuous profit taking, you see it go up a little bit more, and then boom, you buy back in, you FOMO back in, and that's just a self-fulfilling prophecy for prices just get bid up, and that is this slow grind up we have right now. All right, so I know we had this indecision candlestick yesterday on SPY, but now we have a bullish engulfing candlestick, and we're probably going to be heading higher off of that tomorrow. So on the upside, 590.49, 591.86, 594.64, 597.34. On the downside, we're paying attention to 585.10, 582.84, 577.04, and then we have the 200 daily moving average at 574. Coming over here to QQQ, you did close out with an upper wick on today's candle. Might I remind you guys, you are currently sitting above these 0.786 Fibonacci retracement levels. That tells us that 100% retracement is likely. Does not mean we're going to go straight up there. It can, it can still pull all the way back here. This would be picture perfect, by the way. This is what I'm kind of talking about. If the 200 day is just going to kind of stay around here, we get a quick move up here, almost all-time highs, and then whoop, they trick you. All right, I've seen this too many times. You guys remember this? All right, you're coming straight up, you have this little wedge pattern. I remember that. I remember this thing right over here. All right, you got that little wedge pattern, you break up, oh, it's just the back test, boom, you're almost coming out to the high, and then boom, they gap you all the way back down here. All right, and like these were just vicious little swings we had going on here, and we did end up making it up to new all-time highs, but it was not like that fresh breakout. Like, it was a fresh breakout, but it was a false breakout. And then, as we could see, we started getting sucked back under here, and then boom, you took out the last daily high, and the rest was history. You just kept falling. Yeah, so I mean, we definitely can do a version of this where you almost get up to highs, and then boom, you have a sharp pullback, and that's going to catch people off sides. So, something along the lines of that. That is, my ideal scenario here. We have a sharp pullback here, retest the 21 EMA down here, maybe fill the weekly gap at 492.70 all the way down here. And then at the same time, we have that 200-day moving average sitting right there. That's going to be that yellow line. All right. And then this is also a very key breakout spot. You can actually kind of see a little inverse head and shoulders pattern going on right here. All right. So we got that looking like that. So you got a little baby, baby T-Rex arm chin over here. This is your T-Rex shoulder compared to your normal sized shoulder over here. And then this is your head, and if you're just going to come back and screw the terminology of what I just said. Okay, you don't need to know this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Just realize this was the bullish structure that was building out. This is where you launched off of that bullish structure. If you come and retest it, you're probably going to find buyers. You have the gap, you're going to have the 200 day, you're going to have the daily 21 sitting right there. You're going to actually also have the weekly 21 sitting right there. It is very likely we are going to find buyers if we pull back here. So this is my ideal scenario. I think it's very probable at this point with what I've been seeing, and yeah, that's the base case. That is ideal. That's how we can also make the most amount of money. Why? Because we're prepared for it. Okay, that means take your profits into here. Don't expect it to break all-time highs. I'm telling you right now, I think the indices, as long as they keep grinding higher, we're going to have some follow through, some beautiful follow through on some of the setups I'm going to show you. And I think these for the next maybe week, maybe we continue going higher, a little higher into the beginning of next week, and then we sell. Not really sure exactly how it's going to shape up. But how to really play this is on those individual tickers. Expect the follow through, expect these actual, true moves to happen. And then once we start getting up here, just realize, don't be chasing these moves. Don't be putting on the new positions. Don't be doing none of that. Expect the false breakouts. And then that is where we get our next big opportunity from. I'm going to point out, things like over here on NVDA. That is where if you push up, if you get this crazy blow off kind of style move, like this thing is going straight up at this point, daily RSI is all the way up here. Guess what? If you actually get a pullback, it could very well, just pull back over here, but you're going to have a right shoulder to this inverse head and shoulders pattern. Picture perfect price is going to come back down and retest that, the 200-day moving average. This 21 EMA is going to catch up the price by the time you're over here, but things are very extended right now, and I don't recommend chasing them. But if we get this scenario where we go a little bit higher and then decide to, get this, 1 to 2 week pullback, we have a lot to take advantage of there. And that's where the next, real big money moves are going to be drawn out of. Okay. We went over SPY. Let's come back over here to QQ. Let's just run through the levels we're watching real quick. On the upside, we have 521.95. Above there, we have 527.92. If you need a level in between there, I'd say just use 525.71. On the downside, we have 515.17, today's low, 513.04, the 507.89 gap, and then 501.48. All right, so now I'm just going to go over the Mag 7 stocks real quick, guys. GOOG still looks like to me that it's probably about to get that move. That's what I'm saying. This breakout. Some of these stocks look like they're still going to go. All right, like GOOG, it would make no sense to fall off a cliff right here. It would make perfect sense if this thing just makes its way through 168.24, where it rejected here on Wednesday, yesterday, and then we get up to 172.91, which is going to have the 200-day moving average sitting right there. We can see all the reactions that GOOG likes to have off this guy. It is very likely going to just act as a magnet here, and it is acting as a magnet. That's why price is setting up like this. This is the magnet it's trying to go after, right? It's searching for this target, and that's what I think it's about to do. And potentially tomorrow, this is only at this point, this is like 4% away. It's doable. All right, you just had a move like that was 4%, so we could do it. Come over to Amazon. You see that that little I know it's a red candlestick, but at the end of the day, you do have buyers stepping in off of a key spot over here. This is where you broke out from recently, 206.21. They're trying to hang on right over here. You have increasing volume on the day. You have the 200-day moving average sitting right below you. So honestly, I think there's a solid shot that you do take out today's high. You fill the gap that was left behind over here at 208.85. And then you are going to make your way up to 216.20. All right, so that's what I'd be looking over there on Amazon. But if you do continue to pull back here, this is something that's probably going to find buyers. So you get the 21 EMA, you're going to have the 200-day moving average, probably going to find buyers on that pullback. What about Microsoft, guys? All right, again, it's just one of those stocks that's grinding high right now. That's exactly what the indices are doing. Okay, I'm not going to say it's the prettiest thing. It's kind of frustrating because the indices aren't going to have much action, and when they do have the action, it's going to be choppy for most of the day, and then boom, you get like one straight move. But it is what it is. That's just what you're going to have when the market just wants to go straight up like this without really any pullbacks. That's just how it's setting up. But this very well could just keep grinding. All right. Again, is this a weekly chart you really want to be shorting? I personally wouldn't. Like this looks like it's just in grind mode right now. You had your one impulsive move that really set the trend there, and then boom, you're just like, this thing's about to take out 456.16. The high of the week already is 456.19. You got rejected there today, but who's to say you don't just pop your head above there, get a weekly close above this tomorrow, and boom, pop up to new all-time highs, 468.35. I'm not going to say you're not going to do it. All right, moving on over here to NVIDIA. Now, we already talked about this bad boy, but again, does this look like something you really want to short? Like, I know this thing is, stalling out. It's the first straight up green wide body bar here. I understand it's a doji candlestick inside bar right there. Well, kind of inside. You got over the high, but, the body is still contained within the previous body there. I personally wouldn't say it's worth shorting it. Let's just take a look at here, the 4-hour time frame here. And we could see, guess what? Buyers are still stepping in. This is not necessarily something that I would be all that bearish on. You're still above the 4-hour 21 EMA. You're just riding that thing up. Even if you hit it with a little bit more of a pullback, you pull back to 131 tomorrow, 129, 131. Like, this is still just going to be right above the 4-hour 21 EMA. You're still just going to be, expecting these dips to be bought. Let's say you get a deeper pullback all the way down here to 125 in the short term. That's where the 200-day moving average, that's where the 21 EMA is going to be. But, ideally, this is going to continue higher for another day here, which, I'm thinking it's probably going to do that with how it's set up. And then I think we would pull back, all right? But, you can have this trend line on your chart. You could have something like that. You just had this breakout. Or, I'm just going to say, wherever this high is going to be, you are going to be able to draw this right there. And you are going to legit have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder, okay? And that is going to set up our next big setup over here on NVIDIA. All right, so that's NVIDIA. Let's go over Tesla. Tesla, I'm just going to say, guys, spoiler alert, it's the most bullish stock right here, okay? As far as flow is concerned, most bullish flow all day coming in over here. Tesla is probably going to be continuing higher, guys. We are seeing, the July 450, 445, 455, 460 Cs. They're getting freaking hammered. All right. I think it's very likely we are going to continue seeing this move. I don't know if there's a catalyst that this guy, is buying these for, but there are whales or a whale that is just loading the crap of these July calls. And I agree with him. The stock is immaculate. Okay, the daily chart, the weekly chart here, it's looking immaculate. The fact that you got bought up here and you closed with a green candlestick right next to the previous one tells me you're probably still just in this stage right here. All right, when it stops going, when it stops with this momentum, it does one of these things. It didn't do one of those things today. Okay, I think it's going to continue, going further. I'm going to say at this point in time, premiums are pretty jacked. The time was to go over here. We were able to get this, 400% over here. This was, the highlight over here of the start of our week. And I'm just going to say this thing is probably going to continue. But as far as, buying like those July calls, you got to get a $50 move to get like an 80% gain on them. Like you could follow the whale, but he's playing for a move to all-time highs. So if you're not going to hold from that, it's up to you, all right? Because if you do end up catching this move up here, you're still going to be up, you want to tail that guy 60 to 70%. It's not going to be bad at all. But I'm pretty positive this guy is just playing for a breakout to all-time highs. That is how, everything is set up for me. That's how it's looking. And, I got to agree with the guy, okay? So Tesla, I'm expecting it to continue higher, guys. Above 350, I'm talking 360 to 373 incoming. All right, let's move it over here to Apple, guys. We talked about how it didn't make sense to really just, start falling here, start breaking through these. We are probably going to be finding buyers over here at 208.42 if tested. We didn't test that today, but we're still just holding this little range. And I think it's very likely we're going to pop up above it and take out 214.56, probably test 219.38. That's going to be, around where the weekly 21 is. It's going to be up here at 217. So I'm still thinking we go a little bit further over here. If not, we start really getting this pop up here. So we're going to have to see how this goes. But, last Mag 7 stock over here, it's Meta, guys. Again, I know it's pulling back. I know it's red on the day. But is this something you really want to participate in a short in? Do you want to put it on? Do you have the cojones to put it on? I'm just telling you, I think it's doing one of these things where it's just going to keep, grinding up. It's one of these guys where it's just going to grind up. All pullbacks are going to be bought. It's looking pretty freaking crazy to me. Let's see how you close out the week tomorrow. If you close out, at the, low of week over here, yeah, we're probably going to fill this early week next week and then get bought up later in the week. But if you close out strong, who's to say this thing doesn't just keep going? We'll have to see. But at this point, you are in the golden pocket from, the whole move up there, the move down. That is where you find the sellers. You find them off of our 659.50 level right there, as well as you're in the golden pocket. So, it is where we would be expecting sellers to step in. But, really, I would be watching down here at these two levels, 611.30 and then 604.34. If price pulls back to there, that's where the 21 EMA is. And right below that, even if price doesn't get supported here, right below that, you have the 200 ray over here. But it would not really be the best look to just see this thing slice back down here. You probably would get bought up, but, why did it return back down there so quick? This would probably just become a dead cat bounce. So we don't really want to see it return back down there. This place to hold is 604.34 to 611.30. All right, so those are the Mag 7 stocks. Do you guys want to see how the semiconductors are looking? Guess what? We're above the 200. What do you got to say, eh? What do you got to say? Would you be shorting this stock, huh? I don't know why you're shorting this thing. This thing looks explosive. This thing looks like, I know you got a crap ton of supply sitting up here. But once you eat through this, this looks like one of those moves that can eat through. That's what I'm getting at, okay? You see something like TSM. Does this look like, all that bad too? It doesn't look all that bad to me. All the semiconductors kind of are looking the same. And, this is just kind of, it could be just flagging here. And it looks like over here on the 4 hour that it's probably going to be continuing higher. All right, so, I'm just saying everything as a whole to me is looking like we're probably going to be continuing higher. That's how the chips are looking. And, something I'm just going to put on your radar before we go over my trade ideas. This is one that pertains to the next 2 to 3 weeks, okay? If you do want to, get alerts and, come have access to my live streams every morning where, I will be live trading there, but also just commentating on what I am doing with my options positions, as well as just commenting on how the market is moving throughout the day. That is going to be down below. You can hit the link below and that will be there. But I will be live streaming every single morning. And then I will also be sharing all of my trades and you can come trade with me. All right. You're also going to be prepared. I post the charts throughout the day. I give us our game plans going into each day in the morning and then the night before. All right. And SMCI, guys, I think this is going to be a big ripper and I'm going to be focusing on it over the next 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? All right. Well, this bounce right over here from the bottom of this week to the top of that, second week after that candle, you ran 130%. Let's just focus on the dollar amount. You ran $26 over here in 3 weeks. Well, it was a 3-week run over here. On the fourth week, it started dying. Well, over here, this was also a 3-week run. You had a $40 move, 160% move. But, again, dollar amount, $40 move in 3 weeks. Okay. This one right over here, the first week, 30%. This one right over here, the first week, 65%. Well, this thing is right in between. And I think there is a chance we are going to be just, putting in a new weekly high tomorrow and popping up to a new high. But that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focusing on these following 2 weeks. Okay. That next week, we could have something like this. We could get a pullback. It doesn't matter. We're probably going to have a 2 to 3 week run. This is probably going to make its way back up here, 50 to 56. It's currently at 44. You could take advantage of that if you would like. All right. So I'm putting it on your radar. This is the 3-week, little impulsive move pattern we got going on here. All of these impulsive moves, I'm not talking about this one, okay? That is when, it was still in the stock market's bad graces over here. And then, over here, guys, we have, a big old base building out. This could be leading to an absolute massive move back up here to even like 67.10. That's where you got to up on the last one. And I would not be surprised to see it get up here on this one. That is still a current $20 away from the current price, guys. That is pretty crazy stuff. This is something that I am going to be taking advantage of. All right. So it will be on my focus list for the next 3 weeks. All right. Now let's go over the trade ideas that I have for you guys in the short term. Okay. First things first, guys. Hood, it's an absolute monster. We told you guys to pay attention to. I wish I was focusing on this morning. This thing went absolutely crazy from the bottom. It's showing the most relative strength out of any stock I'm really seeing today. It's Hood, guys. Well, I take that back. Rocket Lab, that is the most relative strength on the day. But Hood over here, guys, you could see what I'm seeing. This thing wants to go to all-time highs. If it gets above 61.20 tomorrow, watch for the move above 63.78. If it does, close the week out at the highs. Next week, we're likely going to take out all-time highs 66.91. And from that point, I think we're going to continue moving higher. All right, so Hood, keep it on the radar, guys. If it does manage to give up today's low, it's still going to be bullish. All right, it's still probably just going to be consolidating here, and it's giving you more of an opportunity to load up on that for that next move up. All right, so that's Hood, but I did expose the other one over here, which is going to be Rocket Lab. All right, so Rocket Lab, RKLB. This thing did start getting the breakout yesterday. I put it on your radars yesterday, but I told you guys to watch this breakout zone. 2320, 2377. Either you're going to watch and play for a break above yesterday's high, 2452, or you're going to be watching for the move over here, and you could risk something like, you can mark out this daily candle, put the risk on over here, risk that if you want. But, at the end of the day, you are playing for a move like, you're playing for a big move here. And I still think that is the case. The weekly, the monthly, the daily chart, they're all set up for a big move, especially over here on the monthly. We have 2 weeks left in the month. I think this is probably going to get, to be much larger than how it is right now, okay? So currently, this is a $4 monthly candle there. The last one ran $9. I think we have a setup that, calls for something like this. And, I'm not saying we get a massive move over the next 2 weeks up to new highs. But I am saying 26.45 incoming in the short term, potentially tomorrow. And then shortly after that, I think we're probably going to head up, to between 28 and this $30 level. If $30 does just break easy peasy lemon squeeze, then it's heading straight to 33.34. And then we have another explosive move on our hands. All right. It's a big move. All right. So it's something that, I'm playing currently over here, and it's something you can pay attention to. And if this does happen to, take a big old crap over here, I think it's just going to present the buying opportunity. So if it does manage to dip all the way back down to 23.77, I think it is a buying opportunity. Even if it just retests to yesterday's high, 24.52, I think it would probably be bought. But, this thing specifically out of everything is really just looking beautiful. Okay. Next one up is going to be ARM. All right. So ARM is a very similar scenario. We have a lot of these inverse head shoulders looking patterns over here. And, all it is, guys, we're starting to get the bullish structure, and then you're breaking out from that base. All right. And now, this is right at the 200-day moving average. This did not put in, a close today that suggests that it's going to be falling. Either way, if it does retest 126.36, I view that as, you know, a big buying opportunity here. This is where it just broke out, just reclaim this area. It was support. You've lost over there, resistance. Now, if we retest, it should act as support. Above 134.63, you got rejected 2 days in a row. Get above there tomorrow. We're talking 142.32 is going to be that next spot. I think you can hit in one day if you really try. But I think over probably next week, you know, you close out this week strong. I think we are probably going to get another decent week following that. Okay. So that's ARM. So we went over Hood, ARM, Rocket Lab. Next one I got for you is going to be Walmart. Okay. So Walmart today had earnings. You end up gapping down off of that. As we can see, they ended up beating. I'm not exactly sure the reasoning. You had the big gap down and not, you know, listen to the earnings call or nothing like that. But I'm telling you right now, this thing did end up finding buyers exactly where it needed to. 92.12 to 90.23 is the zone that I was watching over here. I was hoping to get this entry before earnings. Then I was going to take it long into earnings. We did not end up getting it. And you know, no harm done. You did end up closing underneath where you closed over here. And premiums, you know, they weren't juiced by any means, so they probably did decline slightly. If I had to guess, guys, this thing is going to be marching its way back up above 99.50. And once it's above there, it's going to be marching its way back up and just dragging itself back up, really just that slow grind up to 105.30 plus. All right, so that's what I'm looking for over here on Walmart. But I do think this is something that, you know, we can now be buying dips over here on the wall of Mart. And yeah, this is probably over the next few weeks going up to all-time highs. If it closes out the week strong here, if you manage to take out the current weekly high here at 97 tomorrow, and you close this candle green, there is a possibility where it just straight up pushes the following week, and you gain some decent ground that following week. The more likely scenario, my opinion, is if you close out in a similar manner here. You know, this looks relative. I'm not going to say it looks like weak as in not strong. I'm saying like structurally, normally we get another wick going on here, something like that. Or you'll gap down and print like a bullish engulfing candlestick. We normally don't just print one of these and then continue up off it. You normally print, you know, the thing that says bulls are stepping in, and then you'll test it the next week. You know, you put in some form of, you know, further structure there instead of just having this little stick figure looking thing there. All right, so I do think that is likely. I don't think you're missing out or anything. Don't be FOMOing. But this is one that we're going to keep on the radar over the coming weeks, because I think we do get that move that just climbs back up the highs. It's certainly a chart to be bullish here on the daily time frame. We closed the day back above the 21 EMA, even though we got all the way back down here today. And then on the weekly time frame, where did we find buyers exactly from that weekly 21 EMA? It's looking really strong over here on Walmart. And if it does pull back, it's going to be a buying opportunity. We're going to be watching this one next week, but you can start putting it on your radar as of right now. Cost, it has earnings next week. If you are going to be playing options, just realize you're going to have to be playing next week's calls, because you have juiced up premiums for the following Friday and anything past that. This thing has really decided to consolidate here for straight 2 weeks. It has gone absolutely nowhere, but it continuously finds buyers where it needs to. I think this thing's going to pop, guys. I think it's going to do it. It could do it tomorrow. It could give us the move above 10.23 tomorrow. Keep it on your radar. All right. You don't have to touch it. It does have earnings right around the corner, but it's pretty similar to Walmart there, except I would personally be playing Walmart at this point. That's the one without earnings. That's the one you could buy some time on and just ride. Just keep catching those dips, buy in more on those dips. And that's really the winning game plan over here on this Walmart chart is, you know, let's say you move over here early next week. Well, then let's say you pull back over here, buy this dip over here into the 21 EMA. It's probably going to come back up here. Already on your June calls, you're going to be up like 50 to 80%. You're going to be like, oh, thank you, Henry. All right. And then all you got to do is just wait and yeah, go another, you know, $3-4. Oh, you're up 100, 150%. Oh, thank you some more, Henry. There you go. All right. You're going to have a good time. You just got to be patient on it. All right. Next one we're talking is Oklo. Right. So Oklo ended up having a decent sized dip today. Did not take out yesterday's low, but it did end up getting bought up in the end, and it printed this inside, relatively inside day. You're almost inside the body. Either way, you're inside the previous day's range, so we're going to call it an inside day there. I am thinking this thing is going to pop through 38.68, even though it got rejected yesterday. I'm thinking it's going to pop through there and head straight to 43.70. This is setting up to be another monster, and if we do end up getting this pullback next week like we got right there, that was off an offering though, so I'm just going to say that it's off an offering. So I don't know if we're going to actually get that, but you can see with price, you know, just steadily ticking up here. Volume is steadily ticking up here. And yeah, this is a really healthy looking chart. Pull back to the 200 over there. Big, you know, break and retest spot. You found buyers there, buyers there. This is just clear as day demand, this break and retest zone. And now you're just launching into the heavens. All right. It looks like you're probably going to keep going, and above 43.70. I think all-time highs is probably going to be incoming again. And yeah, it's just going to be like a 2-week ride back up there from pretty much where we are here. I think we could have another big day tomorrow. All right. Aside from that, we're looking at Rivian. All right. So Rivian did end up getting a move above 1534 today. You did not get the daily close above. Daily RSI is overbought. I'm not telling anybody to chase this because I do think it's going to have a pullback, and I think we're going to have a better opportunity to play it on that pullback. But do not chase. If this thing pushes into this level, we're going to wait for this pullback back into this area. This is where we're going to be buyers on it, and then we look for this move over here. Do not go chasing on this thing. Daily RSI is getting into overbought territory there. And I think it's very likely at some point we're going to have this little pullback that we could take advantage of for this daily RSI to really pull back just a little bit, even if it's going to go something like you know, this over here. You see how when you start getting up to where you are, you know, maybe you have one more big day. I know this one was just a big gap up, but you did end up having this decent sized pullback. And that's, you know, that's pretty much what I'm looking for. You don't really want to be chasing this thing. It can, you know, have a blow off style kind of move here. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. I think we're going to start a more structured, a more stable run here on Rivian instead of just a crazy blow off top style move that then just completely fades. Something like this that completely fades. I think we're starting an actual uptrend. You want to see exactly what I'm talking about? I'm talking Roblox, baby. I'm talking row of the blocks. All right, so Roblox is something that's absolutely ripping over here. So this is going to be the last trade idea I have for you today. This thing is, well, I actually have one more after this, but I'm not going to really say it's something I want to go after just because of, you know, they got it down, but I like the setup. But Roblox over here, guys, dips are going to continue being buying opportunities. I think this thing is heading up to 93.27. This one that I haven't been paying attention to, but holy crap. It's been skyrocketing. It's been getting crazy volume coming into it, and they happen off of earnings. So, you know, this is good stuff when a stock does this. And I'm just going to tell you behind the scenes, yeah, we keep seeing bullish flow come into this guy. It is all dated flow. Most of it is 2026, so keep that in mind if playing it. But I think this whale is onto something here. And yeah, over the last like 2 weeks, we keep seeing 2026 calls loaded. I think we're heading up to 93 bucks. All right. There's that. And the last one I have for you today is going to be CAVA. Why am I saying CAVA, guys? Well, CAVA just had earnings, and you did end up pulling all the way back down here. I like the reaction you're getting to this area. And on the daily chart, it's going to gap down here. I think this has the chance of seeing one of these, you know, big intraday reversals here where it gets, you know, big gap down off earnings and then reverses. We are going to have the weekly, not weeklies, the 0 DTs tomorrow. So that is something that if you want to take a lot of position, you could take that. But regardless, premiums are going to get crushed now that, you know, stock prices move down off earnings. Is either going to have, like, call premiums are going to get crushed, whether you know, trade flat or move down. Now they're definitely getting crushed because you're moving down. But yeah, from over here, let's look at it this way. They did end up beating earnings. You know, this is a pretty drastic improvement to what they were rocking with over there. You know, I'm seeing a 50% increase. All right. But what brought the stock down was they guided down. All right. So that's not the best thing. All right. So yeah, I mean, it's a very expensive stock. Let's look at it that way. But I have traded CAVA in the past. And once it gets going, you know, once it has this uptrend going, it can get these pullbacks. I think they're likely to be bought. And this is going to be right here at the 21 EMA. So if you like this trade idea, feel free to take a stab at it or at least add it onto your watch list. But right over here into 93.73, that is where we're seeing buyers here in the after hours. So there's a solid shot they continue to hold there into the open tomorrow. And if price does open down here, a test right there intraday, that is where you can start putting on that lotto call position, or honestly just a swing call position. And then what are you going to risk, guys? It's going to go something like this. Okay, you're going to risk right over here at 90.58. You're going to buy over here 93.73. You risk 90, not 90.58, 90.75. Okay, so you risk 90.75 over there. And then, in the end, you're going to be targeting all the way up here, where you broke down from. That was your big, earnings gap from over there. But, you can take profits whenever you want. You can even take profits over here if you would really like, right here at your first resistance. And then you are sitting on a 1-to-1. You get a 1-to-2 if you're selling for up here, a little slightly over. And then up here is where you get that 3 to 4 risk to reward. But yeah, I think CAVA is likely to get bought up. But out of all the trade ideas I gave you, I'm going to be honest, this is my least favorite one, considering the lower guidance. We just know this is an expensive stock compared to what they bring to the table. Yeah, just keep that in mind. All right. Out of everything I brought to you today, yeah, I think Rocket Lab over here, RKLB, is probably my favorite stock I am watching right now. Other than that, safe, easy money is going to be over here on Walmart over the coming weeks. With that being said, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it's a little bit longer, but we take a very specific look here at this market. There's no other channel that does it like us here on YouTube. We give everybody, for free, absolutely no cost to you, everything you really need to make money in this market. I want you guys to be pulling money out the market. I want you guys to have all of the, all the setups you really need on your radar to kill this market continuously. And I try and do my best. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, we are going to be entering market conditions over the coming days. If we continue this rally, where I think it's best not to be chasing breakouts, not to be taking new long positions, not to be taking any positions, honestly, because we can bust through all-time highs, but we know if they're going to sell, it's going to be right around there, and that's, where we could get these rug pulls. And, guys, let's be real, if you made a lot of money on the rally over here, and, we're going to make this next round of money over here over the coming days, if it goes a little bit higher, yeah, take it off, okay? Take it off. All right, but yeah, if you found value in the video, which I know you did, if you're an actual trader in this market, I know you're finding value in these videos. The only people are not is people who aren't understanding it yet, and maybe you're at the beginning of your stock market trading career. If that is the case, you come join me. Link is going to be down below. I will show you the ropes, and you can come trade live with me every day. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.